of the world, and not just to stand aside and watch. And I will never, never again run away from life, or from love either.
Okay, so I'm gonna give an update on the intern. I am already almost done with it. I have 100 pages left, or actually maybe less than 100 now, maybe like 80, 70. But yeah, I haven't given an update yet because I couldn't really say much about it. Like I am liking it. I have been liking it. I have this new goal where I want to read 40 pages a day. So I've been able to do that with this book. I'm sure with maybe another book, I wouldn't be able to do that. I'd be bored. But with this book, I have not been bored at all. And it says in the synopsis, or when I ordered it from Barnes & Noble, it said like cat and mouse. That's like the trope or whatever. But I'm not really getting that feeling. Or maybe I'm not understanding what cat and mouse like means. But it's not really like that. I would say it is suspenseful. Yeah, it's fun. I'll obviously give more like in depth of the book like later, but so far, like what I have to say is there are 2 point of views, which I like. You get the main girl, which is the intern, and then you get the point of view of the judge that she's working for. And it's really fun to see like their point of views, and then you're seeing, I don't want to spoil it, but you're seeing the reality of things where they, you know, obviously don't trust each other and stuff like that. The main character's mom, I do not like her. I do not like her at all. She is toxic because, and I'm sure like she's meant to be a loving mother. Like I'm sure she loves her kids. She's supposed to be like, you know, nice or whatever. I don't think there's supposed to be a problem with her, but in my opinion there is, because she's putting so much pressure on her daughter, the intern, because her brother, you know, went to jail, whatever. He's in prison right now. And he was like, I forget what you call it, not blackmailed, but he was like set up, I guess. And so the mom is like, well, you know, you're going to law school, so do something about it. You know, where's your brother? Help him. Like, this is your responsibility, and da 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 da. And I'm like, dude, like, she has like no part in this. Like, she literally could not do anything, and you're putting her life in danger because she's trying to get close to the judge, you know, and try to get information about her brother. But it's just like, you know, she's falling into this trap, you know. And like, obviously she's not telling the mom that because she doesn't want her mom to stress, but you know, she keeps telling her like, I can't do anything, like there's nothing I could do. I asked the judge, like, you know, about the case, I don't know what to tell you. And you know, the mom, at one point the mom goes to the hospital from like so much stress, and then the daughter, you know, she's like, well, how can I help you, whatever. And the mom's like, well, you can help me by doing something, like, don't worry about me, you know, go find your brother. Like, you know, so she was just doing that the whole story. So I hate the mom so much. And aside from that, you know, the main character, I like the main character. I like the judge even. Well, it's not like, oh, I like them, but pretty much I don't have a problem with them. Like, you know, they're not boring. I could follow them. But yeah, I'm really liking this so far. I'm not sure how this is going to end, because it is like a back and forth, you know. Not back and forth between like, oh, good and bad. I just mean back and forth like there's nothing really going on. It's just kind of, you know, back and forth of like, you know, what's gonna happen, trying to find information about the judge and all these like people, and that's pretty much it. There's cops involved, detectives involved. So other than that, I'm not really sure where this is going to go. So far though, if I would have to give like a rating, I would just probably say that this is like a 3-star. It's not bad at all. I am liking it, like I said. It's just nothing's really happening. But yeah, once I finish this, I'll hopefully in 2 days, once I finish this, I will give you guys a better review and synopsis on the book.
I'm a little frightened, and yet, when I sang after dinner, I wanted to go up to him and take him by the hand, and look in his eyes and sing just for him. Did you notice he almost never smiles? While I was singing, I turned round suddenly and caught him looking at me. He was smiling then.
I've just turned 18, and I think I understand what people mean to each other.
Genève maintenant?
Pas Genève, Genève, mais dans les environs.
Ah, c'est parfait. Je vous remercie.
C'est vraiment merci. Au revoir.
Okay, so a quick update. It is January 27th, 28th now, and I've been sick for 3 weeks straight. So yeah, the first week of January, that's when I was recording and stuff like that, and I was able to like talk or whatever. So then second week I ended up getting sick, and then I think the week later I got a earache and then an ear infection, and I literally couldn't hear, and I still can't hear. My ears are plugged. Still, it's been like 2 weeks now. And then that third week, what happened that third week? Oh, I got low blood pressure. And so, yeah, like I wasn't getting enough rest because I was still like sick. And I think I only called out once. And then I was like trying to go to work when I could. So then I would go to work and I would exert myself, and then, luckily I like say I had another day off or something. And so then I would go home and rest. And, but since I was still trying to work while I was sick and push myself, I think my body just used a lot of its energy and, stuff like that to help me feel better. And so, yeah, I ended up having low blood sugar, and it was pretty bad actually, because I went to the doctor for my earache, and then she told me like, oh, I noticed your blood pressure is really low, and like that's concerning. And I was like, oh shoot, like I didn't know about that. And so and yeah, and so that same day, because I went to the doctor's office before my shift, and so then I went to work, and I literally only was able to work half shift because luckily it was like perfect timing, but I clocked out during my lunch. And then when I was gonna walk back, I ended up feeling like really dizzy and like lightheaded, and I like my my limbs felt numb and like just weird, and I was really scared I was gonna faint, and so yeah, I ended up like talking to like HR, asking if I could leave early, and so I left. And then luckily I think that was my Friday. And so then I had 2 days off after that. And then I ended up calling, I think, the day after that because I was supposed to go in. And so anyways, I had like 4 days off and I was literally just laying down on the couch. I was so weak. I couldn't walk. I was so tired. I was sleeping all the time. And I think that's when I finished The First Light Wins. I think that's when I read it, the end of it. Because I had like just woken up. It was probably like already 6 p.m. or something. So like I said, I was sleeping a lot. I woke up and I read, and that's when I finished that whole chunk. And then after that, I was like itching to read. Like I was just like this whole like month, like even still now, I'm just like itching to read. And so and I didn't have a book on me, so I ended up going to Target, making a quick run. That's when I got You've Reached Sam, and then I finished that. Still, like during the time span of me like getting a lot of rest and sleeping and stuff like that. And so that's why I wasn't able to give an update or record and say anything about the books, because this whole month has just been a bad start to the 2024 for me. Yeah, so I've just been really sick, really tired, drained, weak, just all that kind of stuff. So yeah, like I said, I wasn't able to record or give anything. So this is just a little quick, like, what's going on. Like I said, I still can't hear in my ears really. But yeah, and then also, which I think I've said this many times before, but I don't like recording like my book reviews, like my actual reviews, when there's people around. Like the house, wherever I'm at, the house has to be completely empty. I don't want people to hear me, so, and that's hard, like where I live, because there's like usually always somebody home, like with our schedules. That's just how it works. So yeah, I want to get this video out on February 1st, or even January 31st, and I'm almost done editing this vlog, but I still need to do the recording for the book reviews. So I don't know when that's gonna be. I'm gonna hopefully do that soon. I'm hoping, yeah, I don't know, we'll see, but I still need to do the book reviews. But just really quick, I mean, just to say, the first book was really okay. Oh, hold on, my brain is like going. Okay, so the first book was good, The Intern. I liked it. First Lie Wins, or The First Lie, whatever. I was having so much fun reading that. I really liked it, but then ended up being disappointing, and I was like, what the heck was this, like that's how I felt. And then the last book, You Reach Sam, oh my god, so good, and it was a YA, so I was really surprised about that. But anyways, I'll go more in depth later. Okay, I'm finally doing the book review. I'm going to be whispering, so it might sound a little ASMR, but that's only because I literally cannot hear myself, so I can't tell if I'm being loud or not. So hopefully this sounds okay. And for some reason my ears are more plugged than usual, so it's a little weird. But so I read 3 books this month, and that is super good. Because usually I read like 1, maybe 2, because of like work and stuff. But yeah, ever since I made that goal to read 40 pages a day, I've been reading really quick. So let's go ahead and start with the first book, The Intern, that I read at the beginning of this month. So as for the synopsis of this book, it's about this woman. I am not good with names. I don't remember names. I don't really bother. But the main character, she is the intern to this lawyer. So she's actually her student, like in college, and then her professor asks her, like, hey, I just have a position that opened up, would you like to apply? Like, you really show promise, so I would love for you to join. So at the same time this is happening, like school and work life, her brother is actually going to prison right now. He's like, in court and stuff like that. And it turns out that I think after she applies to be the intern, she finds out that the judge on her brother's case is actually her professor, which is the lady she works for. And so that's pretty much, what it's about. So it's supposed to be like a cat and mouse, back and forth. She's trying to get some information because she's starting here, and this isn't a spoiler, but she's hearing from other people that her boss, the judge, seems kind of like not fishy, but she's like crooked, and she's thinking that this can't be true because the intern, she actually looks up to her professor, you know, and I guess she did a whole bunch of research on her. She knows a lot about her, and she's looked up to her since she was like young, you know, so she doesn't really believe this could be true, and she wants to find out if it is. And so after that, the judge kind of asked her like, hey, do you want to like pet sit for me? I have to go somewhere. And so pretty much, you know, things ensue from there, and there's a whole back and forth. Nobody knows if they could trust each other, and yet they kind of need each other. So that's a summary on this book. Obviously it deals with lawyers and, you know, detectives, not cops, but like the detectives, mobsters are in here, and I am not a fan of none of those things. So I'm actually surprised that I actually liked this book so much and that I was having so much fun with it. There are some of like those words and it's like, okay, I don't understand what that means, but honestly it was okay, because the story I was so intrigued by that I just kind of like looked over the words. I was like, okay, it's not a big deal. If I was bored with what was going on, then I'm pretty sure like the words would have bothered me, and it kind of would have probably deterred me from like wanting to continue to read this. But yeah, I had a lot of fun. So I continued to want to read this and like to know like, okay, what's gonna happen. Like I mentioned in the vlog, I was like, okay, I don't know where this is going. Like I really had no idea. But I really did like the ending. Oh yeah, before I get into the ending, and like other parts of the book, this book is written in two POVs. You are getting the point of view of the intern and also the judge, and so that's really fun because you're seeing like how one of them's thinking, and you know, say one of them can't trust the other one, and then you're actually getting like the other one's thoughts, if that makes sense. So there's a whole back and forth, so it's really like just like fun and entertaining because like you know the truth, you know what's actually going on. Also there were like a lot of characters' names, because there's like other people that are involved, and sometimes they're called by their first name, sometimes they're called by their last name, and there's like a few of them. So I would recommend taking notes because honestly, like at that point, like their names were being said so much and I didn't know who was who, so that was the only thing that was kind of confusing. So yeah, I would take notes if you can. Another thing, like it does spoil Harry Potter in here, so if you haven't read or watched the movies of Harry Potter but you want to, I would say it's towards the end of the book. I would say maybe, you know, just be careful when it's mentioned. Just skip over it, or you know, go ahead and watch the movies or read the books first, because it is spoiled in here. Okay, now back to the ending. So yeah, I did really enjoy the ending. The only weird thing is that it seemed like there was two separate endings, which I'm trying to say it without giving spoilers, but I just think the ending would have worked a lot better if these two endings were in one chapter, and if maybe there was a break, you know, so you could kind of see like, you know, the difference, or that there is a difference. But how it was written is one chapter was one ending, and then there was the last chapter, and that was the other ending, if that makes sense. So that was the only thing that was kind of weird, that I think just could have been done better. But yeah, that was the only really issue that I had with this book. And so I gave this a 4 to 5 stars, and surprisingly, so I'm really happy that my first book was actually really good. For the tags, I would say judicial system, crooked cops, conspiracy, blackmail, and mob, or mobsters, whatever. But yeah, so that was my first book. Now this was my second read of this month, and that is The First Sly Wins by Ashley Alston. Also, I forgot to say, but this is The Intern by Michelle Campbell. So yeah, here's this one. Now here's The First Sly Wins. I love this cover, by the way. I love the like lime green. But anyways, so I ended up giving this a 2 out of 5 stars, and it was a fun time, but surprisingly really disappointing, which sucks so much. So what this book is about is the main character. She has like a tough time growing up. She lives with her mom, and her mom had cancer, and she ended up dying at a young age, maybe when she was in high school, or maybe just graduated, because it's kind of like touched on, but I'm not really sure if it says like when or how old she was. But yeah, and it was only her and her mom. That was the only, that was the only person she had in her life. And she grew up in a small town, and they grew up kind of poor. They didn't really have money. And so she would pickpocket, and she would steal and do all these things to make money for her mom and, to help her with like all these treatments. And she ended up getting caught. The cops were called on her, but then somebody is watching her. And I believe a detective comes and picks her up or like saves her, and he says like, hey, there's this job for you, I want you to meet somebody, here's this card or here's this number, go ahead and call it. And so from there she meets this man who's like the middleman, so you don't really know like her boss. And from there she's assigned like jobs and tasks for her to do, and she never knows who her boss is. She never met her boss. She doesn't know who this person is, because every time she talks to him, there's like a machine that distorts the voice. And then from there she's on this job that she has to date this man. You don't really know what the job is yet, but yeah, she's just dating this man, try to get some details on his his business that he has going on. So that's pretty much the book. This is considered a thriller, but I would say it's more of an action mystery, because there was a lot going on and you're trying to figure things out. Who's her boss, these things that are happening, is it because her boss is making them happen, or is it just like coincidence? And the reason why I call this like an action mystery, also suspense, is because this book reminded me a lot of Ocean's 8, if you've ever seen it. So this does go back and forth between the present and the past, but in the past there are a lot of POVs, because the main character, she has a lot of aliases. So yeah, I would make sure to take notes on that, because they do play a part in like the whole book and the whole story, and with the people she meets during these jobs. And obviously I knew it was an alias, it says it like on the header, but and I think it's the present day chapter, or I can't remember, but there was chapters where it mentions a name, it mentions somebody, and then it confused me, because I'm like, okay, who's this person? I don't remember them being mentioned at all. And the reason for that is because you're not supposed to know them yet. In the next chapter, it's kind of cleared up, like, oh, okay, who's this person? So yeah, I would take a lot of notes of like all her aliases and who she's meeting and who the job is for. One of the things with the writing that was just kind of a little bit off was that there was a lot of, like, say there was a chapter named present, and then the next chapter was called present, but it's like, if we already know it's the present, I don't think there's a need to continue to let us know, because sometimes you were in the present for like a while, and then there was a chapter that goes into the past. So I think just naming the chapters present was unnecessary. Another thing is that there is a quote in here, which is the first slide wins, but it was said 3 times in this book, and that was just way too much. 1 is good, maybe two, but 3, it was too much. So I'm like, okay, no, this is too repetitive. But to talk about things that I liked, so going back to there's characters in the present that are mentioned again, or involved some way in the present, that I really liked. I thought it was fun, and among other things, but I won't get into it. But I really liked that. I liked that the past was still connected to the present. The other thing that I liked was that there were a couple twists, because there was like maybe 2 things that I thought like, okay, I know what this is, I know where this is going, but in reality I was wrong, and I was like really confident that that's what it was. So I am really happy that I was wrong. And so I had so much fun reading this. Like, I loved it. I loved the back and forth. I love that there was different, these like characters that she was playing, and these jobs that were so interesting. So it was so fun until the very end. It was just so bad. And I think because it was ambiguous, and that's just me, I do not like ambiguous endings. I think maybe it could work sometimes if it's maybe like pointed in a direction, but I think this was just done bad. Okay, so I can't really get into it because it would be a spoiler, but pretty much the ending was ambiguous. It was confusing, it didn't make sense, and that's pretty much like all I could say. So it was very disappointing, because of how like much I was really loving this book. Like, I was right here, and then the ending just like crashed, and and that's why I gave it a 2, because like endings are a big deal for me, especially if I'm already enjoying it. If I'm coming from this high and then crashing down, like it's ruined, the book is ruined. But another thing is that I think there was 2 things that weren't cleared up. So yeah, it was open-ended, and there was 2 things that weren't covered. Some of the questions I asked was it meant to confuse us? Was it meant to be left open, or was it just completely forgotten on the author's part? So yeah, I was sadly disappointed. The tags for this is heist, Ocean's 8, women, allegiance, mystery, crime, hacking, espionage, and infiltration. So did I say that right? I feel like that came off weird because, like, again, I can't hear. But that was that book. Okay, now for the last book. This is You've Reached Sam by Justin Tao. So I gave this a 4 out of 5 stars. It was close, very, very close to being a 5, but then, well, we'll get into it. But so yeah, this is a YA. I don't really like YA because usually, the characters, they're young, they're teenagers, and they are very annoying. They're written annoying, their personalities are annoying. So I just don't like YA. I used to when I was younger, obviously, but yeah, now I can't really get into them. Another thing is that this is considered a romance, or it's under romance, but I wouldn't say this is romance at all. I would say this is more of a contemporary with a hint of fantasy, and that is not mentioned at all. So yeah, just like if, in case that you're somebody that likes to know like what you're getting into, I would say that there is a little bit of fantasy in here. Again, I wrote a lot, so I'm gonna be looking at my notes really quick, but the reason why I say that this is fantasy is that the main character, Julie, calls her boyfriend, who has passed away. Okay, yeah, so what this book is about, by the way, the main character, this girl right here, she loses her boyfriend. He passes away. You don't know why yet until like about the middle of the book. And this is at the beginning, so this isn't a spoiler, but what happens is, she's already grieving. She's like, it's probably been like a week or 2, and then, she's like, what do? I don't know what to do. I can't stop thinking about him. She wants to get rid of his stuff. And then, she's like, I just wish I could talk to him. And so she's like, I'm gonna call his phone. I'm gonna call his phone and just, pretend, that I can have a conversation with him. And so when she calls him, he actually answers. And so that is in the synopsis. And you don't know why or like what this is. Like, is it in her head? Because she falls. Before she calls, she falls. So it's like, okay, is this in her head? Is it her imagination? Like, what is it, And I thought that this would be like cleared up in the end, at least by the end of the book, right? Like that would be cleared up like on how this is even possible, but it wasn't. It was not even like talked about at all. So it turned out it's a bit of fantasy because it's of course it's not realistic, and that's just my opinion. That's just like how I see it. I consider it fantasy because obviously there was nothing that was realistic that explained like how this was able to happen. All I know is that this book was supposed to make people cry. A lot of people were like loving this book. They were saying it's so sad. I didn't know it was YA, so I just grabbed it. And so I was like, I'm hoping this does make me cry. I love good heartfelt books, so I was hoping that would happen to me, and it did. And I am, I guess, like a sensitive like person, where it's like if things tug on my heartstrings, I will cry, but I wouldn't say I cry easily. So yeah, this book did end up making me cry. Also, I did forget to mention that the characters were not annoying. For being a YA, the teenagers were, pretty good. I would be friends with these people. And so I really enjoyed that there was a diverse cast of characters. There were bullies, of course, who, blamed Julie because the bullies were friends with him. I think they were like in the, friend group. I think in general they were like, mean people. But yeah, they were bullying her because, they blamed her, of course. Then there's her cousin, which is his cousin. She's hurt. She's being cold and, distant with Julie. And then there's also Julie's friends. They were very patient, supporting. I loved her friends. They were so sweet. I did have a favorite. I forget her name, but she gave her a crystal at one point, and I was like, oh, that's so cute. So yeah, I like that there was a lot of characters, but also like it was just cool because Julie herself obviously is going through grief. And she's being distant, she's being cold, and she, of course, isn't meaning to do this. She's not meaning to put people on the back burner or, like, to make promises to people and not keep them, you know, but that's like what she's doing. And this ends up being done to her. The cousin ends up being like cool to her and, you know, this and that. And Julie ends up like learning how to give patience to her as well. People are giving patience to her, people are giving grace towards her, and she's learning to give that to others as well. As for the writing, this does go back and forth between the present and the past, and I wouldn't say like in the past chapters that you're kind of like getting to know Sam, which is the boyfriend. I don't think you're meant to get to know him. I think a lot of people might assume that this book is about them and like their relationship and, you know, oh, so cute, like again, like I said, like romance. But no, I think that the past chapters are meant to show you her connection with him. It's not really like about them, but it's just to show the connection, how strong it was. And so you kind of get a better feeling of like, okay, why is she feeling so hurt, you know, and why is it so hard for her to let go? And now it's my favorite part, the ending. The ending was so impactful and emotional, and I'm specifically like the ending was good, but there was an epilogue, and I'm talking about the epilogue. So yeah, right away when I finished it, I was bawling, I was crying, and right away once I closed the book, 5 out of 5. I was like, that's a 5 out of 5 stars. It was so good. And then I was sitting there and I was thinking, and I was like, wait a damn minute, because no, there was some stuff that was left out, and because the ending was so good, I almost forgot. It almost slipped my mind. Well, it did slip my mind, you know, like I totally missed it. I ended up you know, thinking about things. I was like, hold on, there is some stuff in the plot that was totally skipped over. So the problem was, where was the explanation? Somehow the calls with Sam were interfering with like texts and other calls between like people, like say her mom and her friends, but that wasn't explained. It wasn't like said why that happens. How can she call him anyways, you know, like that just wasn't cleared up. It was just like, you know, something that just was for some reason. And I did think this was in her head or a metaphor, but something happens that proves this is real, like it, and it wasn't explained. So her calling him, it actually was real, like in the story. It wasn't a metaphor or anything like that. So it's like, okay, that's why I say it's a fantasy. Also, there was no resolution with the bullies, and if the author was like, okay, I'm not gonna give, you know, the spotlight on these bullies, you know, because they're just, you know, side characters or whatever, but it's like, no, you mention the bullies multiple times throughout the book. And there's also other characters, you know, like characters like her coworker, for example. She has a coworker, I don't know, like her friends, the cousin, like there was all these characters, and they're mentioned, they're talked about. So I think the bullies should have definitely had a little like clear up, and even if it was like just a quick simple, you know, not like, oh yeah, we're friends again, or oh yeah, we're cool, we made up, like nothing like that, but just a simple like, you know, now Julie walks through the halls and there's people aren't glimpsing at her anymore, people are, there's no more whispers, you know, something like that, for example. Or now she walks by so and so, and you know, they just walk right past her, they don't, you know, give her any attention anymore, like something like that. Something so simple could like clear up, like, okay, that's over with, you know what I mean? Also, another thing, I did notice 4 typos in here, which is not a big deal, like that wouldn't make me less than stars or anything, but I did notice that for sure. So yeah, honestly, this book just needed some clarification on a few things. Overall, I think, you know, for being Dustin's first book, this was super good, surprisingly good. I thought I was gonna hate it because it was YA, but and I was this close to giving it 5 out of 5, but you know, it was super good. I would recommend it to people for sure. Other than that, it was an awesome book. For the tags, I would say it's loss, grief, letting go, connections, and relationship. And that doesn't mean like romantic relationships. I also mean platonic, you know, the people that are closest to you, your parents, your friends, your family members, you know, even strangers as well. So yeah, these are all the books I read this month, and I'm very happy and proud of myself that I read this much in freaking a month, in less than a month. I had like 5 extra days, but I had to edit and stuff like that. But yeah, thank you so much for being here. I know it's been a while, but I am going to start trying to post monthly vlogs like this every single month. and you know, just like read a lot more and also do art. Hopefully I've been saying I'm gonna do that and I haven't yet, sadly, but if I can make time to read, you know, then I should make time to paint as well. But anyways, thank you for watching and I will see you next time.